I've had this hidden away in my drawer for about 10 years now, and I pulled it out yesterday, and it still looks good. After I graduated in '06, I actually had to pay back the student loans. So I found a job in the best thing I could do that paid the most money and something I was interested in. I actually got a job as a carpenter. Please don't make references to Jesus at this time. I'm actually way over on the far, my right, your left. This is in Spiritwood, North Dakota, and it's about a 47-degree wind chill that day. And if you want to, ponder the meaning of life, it gets a little interesting when you're below zero. And, I promise you, I've been hearing a couple of these speakers, and I don't think any of us have collaborated, but, it's interesting to hear the same resonance come out of a lot of the graduates. About a year after I graduated, I was working on a wall system, and I came home to find in my mailbox a survey from Gustavus asking me for the most tangible class I've taken at Gustavus. And I thought back, well, I don't think it was the philosophy of religion or even the philosophy of art. I don't think a lot of my generals actually had a lot of real use at what I was doing at that time. I did answer the survey, and I sent it back, and then my response was rock climbing. And I guess I say that as a partial joke, but also don't discount any classes you take. You never know which one may help you. Now, I told you kind of what I did immediately after. Let me back up a little bit. I didn't plan for this. I'm a third generation in the building trades. My grandfather was an inspector in Berlin. My father came across the pond, and he works as a superintendent for the same construction company I'm working for. Now, we're not going to talk about if that had any correlation. We're going to keep moving on. My philosophy degree wasn't the biggest thing that I've done in my life, but it laid one hell of a good foundation for everything that was to come. Your ability to persuade your colleagues in what you got to do, the use of logic to make a solid argument for your case, and if you can find the root cause of a problem and an economical way of finding a solution to that, you're going to be successful no matter what you do. After I became a carpenter apprentice and I decided this was a career I wished to stay in, I did pursue that further. I went back to school. I'm now a commercial building inspector. I work for a contractor. And when you know your end goal, you can work backwards from it and find what's the first step to take. When I was at Gustavus, I didn't know what I wanted to be. And so I took a major that would lay the best foundation I could to whatever I wanted to do. Working at McGough, I do a lot of work both in the pre-construction and during the work, and I even get the opportunity every once in a while, it never happens, that there's something that went wrong, and we have to find out what the root cause is and how to fix it and how to make that building successful. I'm going to give you one example today. I was recently at a job, and they had a water leak. It wasn't the roof that was leaking, but it was above all the water pipes. Well, how could it possibly leak? Well, if you ever had a frosty beverage, I really wish George was here. You know that it leaves a stain on the table because the condensation. What happened was it wasn't the roof that was leaking. The air conditioner put too much pressure in the building, and it had actually caused a dew point within the building. So one thing I want to say is, even though you can find it and you know, because of your critical thinking skills, where the problems are, the biggest takeaway I want you guys to have today is all of that is useless if you're not able to communicate it. Critical thinking is just fine if you don't have the power to persuade. You know, I can bring charts like this into any meeting and say, if we can find them all out on this front end, we can save you money on this end. And no matter how many times we do it, we often get, you know, the budget for the quality department taken out just to save some cost for the building. And I find myself there later on because their air conditioning's stuck wide open and the whole building's getting frosty. That's all I got for you today. Thank you very much for listening.